How's it going, everyone? This is Nicholas Mateo again, and today I'm going to show you how to do proper color separation for Aria Mara footage. As you can see, I had already created this look, so I'm going to do a complete breakdown and show you guys exactly what I did to achieve the look. Before we get started, please leave a like and subscribe for more color grading content. So without further ado, let's begin. So like I said, this footage was shot on Aria Mara, one of the best cameras in the business. And like all of my color grades, I always start with my IDT and ODT because I always like working in DaVinci wide gamut intermediate workspace in between the color spaces. So as you can see, we have the ARI settings for input color space and gamma. We have the DaVinci wide gamut for the output. Just enable that. So for the output color space, we got Rec 709, and for the output gamma, we got Gamma 2.4. And what I like to do for gamut mapping is going to saturation compression, so that way, obviously, the saturation of the colors aren't going to be compressed or they're not going to clip. So what I did with my curve, I created a very, very harsh contrast. It doesn't have to be a perfect S curve to create certain looks. And as you're going to see here in the waveform, the red is going to almost completely be gone. As you can see, it's pretty much disappeared from these sides, but that's okay because look at the image that we're creating. Sometimes the scopes can do you wrong, and that might be a very hot take, but it's true. Because at the end of the day, what our job is to create beautiful looks. So this is my personal take on the contrast. So the next step is the secret sauce. We're going to take our offset right here and we're going to balance this whole thing out and create that proper color separation, because right now she seems to be very monochromatic with the blue hue. So let me go into my vector scope. As you can see, we are nowhere near close to the center, which if you want good color separation or balance altogether, you're going to want to make sure that the bulk of this white zone right here is in the center. So I grabbed my offset, dragged it here, and look at the results. The difference is night and day. Look at that. And now we're getting more room to work with. So the next thing I did was go into my look node and just started playing around. Now, this is my personal take on it, so let's see how it goes. Boom. So what I did was I grabbed the HDR palette, went to my light, and I noticed that there was too much white going on in the highlights. You could even see it when the node is disabled, that I didn't really like how white this was looking. I wanted this to be more filled with whatever tones I was going to give the woman. So that's what it ended up looking like. Now you might notice that this footage is a little darker now when I did this, but you don't see any exposure differences here. But that's because I went into my sat versus luminance and dragged this up. And I did that just to apply just a little bit more contrast while also popping her out a little more. Because when I take this off, look what happens. Yeah, it might bring her down just a little bit, but it's bringing the background down a lot more. What I also did here, on top of what I did with the light, was I went into my hue versus hue, and I shifted her to where I wanted her to be. So if we look at it looked like before, and now after, there's more consistency with the hues of her. So that way it's not just blue and some cyan, it's a consistent green-like tone. And of course, if I go into my hue versus sat, because I didn't want this to pop out too much. So I wanted to bring her down, but I wanted this to pop out a little more, make it even when it comes to the vector scopes. It's pushing, it's riding the edge, but that's what we want for footage like this. So after this is done, I went into my effects and I created a glow. Now the thing about glow effects is you're going to want to use them subtly, because if you don't, it's probably going to come off pretty cheap and a little too dreamy. I use this glow effect to really make her stand out. As you can see what I did with my gain and gamma, but I also didn't want this effect to be too harsh. So instead of the full opacity, you can see how overly bright she is. I bring the effect down to 0.5 and it looks a hell of a lot better. Now, of course, with any footage, I always like to top things off with some film grain, but if you look closely, especially around here, you'll notice a lot of noise, and I want this to be as clean yet cinematic as possible. So before you do this, you go here for your noise reduction. These are my settings for it: Luma and Chrome locked, and the chroma here for the spatial threshold unhooked. And this is what we look like before and after. You can see it's cleaning it up just a little bit. That's more than enough. And now, on top of that, we're going to apply the film grain. And these are my settings for it. You don't want to push it too harsh. That's why I do the global blend at 0.6. It's a subtle look. So, before, after. So this is how it was done. Obviously, you guys can use your own methods and you can put these whichever order you want. I just found that this no tree structure is my ideal structure. It's helped me create amazing looks and it really gets the job done. So let's roll the full clip. I hope you guys really enjoyed this one. Once again, please leave a like and subscribe for more color grading content, and I'll see you next time.